Hello and welcome. So we are going to be talking about making Kubernetes enterprise ready today. And this is a challenge that faces everyone who's on a journey to move between sort of the early stages, so proof of concept. And everyone who's here will be in a company, because we're at KubeCon, that is on that path. But this path leads right the way into business critical systems, payment systems at banks, for example, of which there is a bank talking immediately after us today. So stick around for that, and we'll make sure that what we say is borne out in the data, as they say. So I wanted to bring together these experts, and we'll get into who these experts are and where they've come from and what they do. But as we think about moving Kubernetes into things like a data platform, as we think about making COTS able to run on this platform, as we think about moving virtual machines into this platform, all of these things help with those outcomes that you're looking for, whether that is things like a developer velocity, whether that's cost savings. We can make all of those pieces work within Kubernetes. So let's introduce the journey a little bit, and then we'll introduce the panel. So you should be able to see, there. So we've got things like, PCI DSS. If you're looking how to do that, you've got to work all those pieces out. Maybe you're doing dev pods and you want to give everyone a cluster for what they're trying to do in Kubernetes so they're not treading on each other's feet. And we see right at the beginning of that is the proof of concept and stateless apps. And at some point, the stateful apps come in as well. And Portworx, of course, who's hosting today, are a big part of that. So I'll pass over to the panel. Let's go for Daniel. He's got the microphone.
Yes, so I'm Daniel. I'm cloud native architect working for Portworx. So the picture's not here. I'm stepping in for Andy, who is on another talk right now. I'm technically responsible for the Portworx platform for the German and Nordics markets.
Hi, I'm Liz Rice. I'm from Isovalent, now part of Cisco. We are the company behind the Cilium networking project, which has really become the de facto default solution for networking and security in Kubernetes deployments and beyond.
Yeah, hi, my name is Julian Hansert, one of the founders of Kubermatic. We are a Kubernetes distribution for Kubernetes at scale, on-premise, and in the hybrid.
Yeah, then maybe last but not least, Tobias Gerhardt is my name, from the company called Aqua Security. Nowadays, I would say de facto standard when it comes to scanning cloud native artifacts, container images, and things like this.
So here's the first question, right? When to iterate your platform and what signs there are that this is needed as you move along that journey from a proof of concept to stateful apps to, running into critical apps. When do you find that your clients really have to think about changing from version 1 to version 2 and so on?
I don't want to serve with security. It's always the last part.
Job zero, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But generally, obviously, I would educate all the clients, prospects, that you need to start at day one with thinking of security and having the security as adaptable as possible when you are building such a platform service nowadays, because you need it. You mentioned it, the PCI stuff, some other critical infrastructure, and so on and so forth. But you always need to keep in mind that you need to have something such adaptable that you can, on the one hand side, enforce and provide visibility on the levels from the management or security that you need, but also have it so interchangeable in some regards, but also available that even the smallest person, the single developer, can always use the information directly without having to wait for whatever kind of hundreds of processes in between of SOC tools and the like, just to get a single information of, oh, this is what I have in my pipeline. Is this worth taking it forward, or do I need to already throw it to the bin and start from scratch?
Right. Yes, and I imagine there's an element of vision. You need to know the direction you're ultimately potentially traveling in, and setting that so you can align with it, I suppose.
Right, yeah, we are on this journey since 9 years, so we've seen it all, and history is repeating itself. Typically, we consider ourselves as infrastructure platform engineering company for Kubernetes at scale. Scale is our definition, 30 clusters onwards, 300 nodes or 50 applications that you are running. So the customers that come to us typically have the pain of scaling on-premise hybrid, as I said before. Best case, they already anticipate that there will be some complexities down the way, and they're reaching out to us early on and mitigating this. That's not always the case, and then there's things happening, and it needs to go fast, getting rid of the whatever VM infrastructure because it's getting expensive. We had a whole workshop day on that topic yesterday. So really getting into the mindset early on, the GitOps mindset, that's what we encourage the people, and trying to get the word out early.
Okay, so automate early and build that foundation. Yeah. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, I think no platform is ever sort of day zero to day one. Now it's complete. Everybody is always iterating. They're always having workloads that they need to integrate with. It's not like you flick a switch and suddenly magically everything's on Kubernetes. You probably have a continuum. It's probably going to be, unless you're a new greenfield startup, you probably have a lot of forward planning, a lot of thinking about how you're going to potentially migrate workloads, which workloads are even sensible to migrate from a network perspective. How are you, are there network constraints that are built into some of your applications? Yeah, iterating a platform is always going to be non-trivial, I would say. But we're seeing a lot of people looking at their existing infrastructure, thinking about how can they take advantage of the dynamic nature of Kubernetes, the scalability of Kubernetes. But yeah, it's not going to be magic. It's not like unicorn magic fairy dust that solves it all overnight.
Yeah, great. So know your apps, I suppose I take away from that.
So yeah, when it comes to storage on a typical Kubernetes platform, we see a journey customers are on, and often they start without any storage in Kubernetes because Kubernetes is stateless. Yeah, stateless Kubernetes. Yeah, who still runs it? I don't know. So we start stateless. Then platform owners or platform people, application owners, developers ask for, we need storage because we want to deploy stateful applications. And most customers then start with something they already have, which is good enough. So they try to use something they have on their platform. They try to install drivers they find somewhere on their storage vendor's website. And then they provide this storage, which is good enough for this testing. But then as soon as these applications get critical, as soon as they get business critical, they need to rethink their storage strategy, because often people then ask questions like, what redundancy do we provide? How do we provide business continuity? How do we do backup, restore, all these topics? And at this third phase, customers often need to rethink their overall strategy towards storage on Kubernetes. So the early signs and when to really start thinking about storage is the point where you leave the stateless area. And you should do this properly at this point, because otherwise you need to repeat at this later point where you already on your journey and you already address all the other topics which are relevant.
Yeah, so we've had know your application, and we've got know the facets of that application that you're trying to cater for on this journey. Excellent. Assuming that we've well thought out a Kubernetes strategy and you're going to you're trying to move faster, right? How can you increase the uptake? Because we're doing this for business reasons, right? Whether that's developer velocity, whether that is cost saving, and often it's a combination of those, and it depends which department you sit in some degree, but lots of good things can come from it. But if no one comes to your platform, it's going to be great, but no one will know about it, right? So is there an element of marketing involved? Is there an element of training and things like that? How would you increase the uptake?
Well, I think the most important point is talk to the consumers of your platform very early. So don't architect it in your mind and just do the thing you might think which is right. Take them all on board, because this can also help you form the vision for this platform. It helps you on the storage part to have an idea where to start with storage and which components you might need in future.
I would especially take one on this, that it is really an internal marketing that you need to do to really have this kind of acceptance and also fast acceleration on top of such a platform. Because especially on this security space, Some might already use specific tools. Maybe it's just a mixture of something. Then just implementing something from an end-to-end process might be looking pretty neat on the slide deck for the management, but at the end you might lose half of your development force because they will think of, hey, why wasn't I asked? Why couldn't I provide feedback early on in the process before having to deal with something that is completely out of our yet established mindset or the definitions that we have for pipelines?
Yeah, I love that. People like to do things. They don't like to have things done to them. So including them in that, very important. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, platform engineering has become a really hot topic, and that, there's going to be tons of talks this week, I'm sure, about platform engineering. I heard that the platform engineering Colo day yesterday was super busy, and I think that speaks to how complex it is, how different organizations do have different requirements. There's no kind of one size fits all. So I think that idea of consulting with the ultimate users of the platform is super important. From the other side, and particularly for us coming from the kind of network infrastructure side coming up, there are loads of technical advantages to embracing cloud native that may not be appropriate to everyone. But if you want to be able to do things like dynamic scaling, this is a really great way to do it. If you have, really lumpy workloads, or if you have AI workloads that suddenly require a huge amount of application processing, you need environments that can embrace that. So this is a way to do it. And maybe you can also solve things like security at the same time. And that's certainly something that we see at Isovalent, that we're able to help people with not just the connectivity and the performance, but also, have you figured out how you're selling this platform to your security team? Because there are some neat things that you can do here.
Yeah, bring them in early, get them involved. Excellent.
Yeah, what we are always searching for is the intrinsic motivation, searching use cases and customers. We have a lot of manufacturing customers. What is your most important application that you are running at the edge, at the production plant? The manufacturing execution system, so be it. So how can we make sure that it is 99.x available, or whatever you bring to the table as a design customer? So listening into IT, talking to the central IT, and getting a strong technical champion that is pushing the innovation into it, and then having the teams potentially participating in events like this or other community events, collecting more insights, and then getting a grassroots adoption within the company. That is always helping us to not just have this top-down, so we have this Kubernetes strategy now, but really adoption within the team. That's a strong force with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of great software that will sit unused because you didn't sell it to the individuals who would benefit most, but they weren't in those discussions, were they? So excellent, thank you for that. So what speed bumps appear from a tech, skills, and people perspective do you find?
Again, security. No, I think this is really the point that you need to coin on, that you have teams that have all individuals within the team should have one, like it's called an SME, subject matter experts, that you have always one that thinks of security, has security in mind. The other one has the interconnection on the network layer for what they want to build, where they need to get data from, push data to, and so on. And then also someone that owns a bit more the general platform scope, if we, like it's called for Kubermatic, if it's all solvable by one huge cluster, or should we more go in the seed cluster design, as it's called there, and then really have each and every one in each team that can somehow position himself in such an SME role, because otherwise we'll likely lose either security, as often as it is, or you will just develop an application, push it to one single big cluster at the end where this application is located, but it cannot really communicate to anything else. It misses then some interconnectivity metrics and so on, and then you end up in a deadlock.
Excellent. Yeah, I've seen throughout my career just the power of teaching. So if you give someone that remit to teach other people, is it almost creates a hole for that information to go in, and it builds that community as well. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I can speak out of a Polar perspective. Even though that Hamburg, that's the city where our headquarters, this is a 2 million city, we knew that it's hard to get the right experts. So we started the journey remote first from the get-go because we wanted to tap into talent of like 500 million Europeans and even more. And still, it's hard to find subject matter experts on Kubernetes to this day. And the same for our customers. So finding really good people that are not just consuming Kubernetes, but are able to run it in production at scale, training them, getting the mind shift from the old VM-based workloads to container cloud native based workloads. That's the main challenge. And the more we are getting into fancy startups, but getting into the mid-market and the large traditional enterprises, we see that this is one of the biggest stepstones and challenges that the customers are facing.
Just adding on this one, I think the continuous learning, this is what you really dig on. And it's not like, yeah, we are building this platform service, then the platform service is in revision 1 and this is good to go. This is not how it works. I mean, this is why KubeCon gets so many attendees year by year, because everyone of us, at least in the cloud native space, is mostly interested in what are the new trends, what can I do better, how can I evolve further, and so on. And not, yeah, just for once doing such a platform thingy and then that's it.
One of the promises of Kubernetes as an open technology is that, at least in theory, a lot of what you can learn, the skills that you need to operate Kubernetes shouldn't be cloud specific. And the idea is, you maybe have multi-cloud, multi-cluster environments. And at least in theory, you don't need to learn a whole load of different kind of operational skills. In reality, you probably do need a number of people who understand the underlying clouds better. As Kubernetes and the cloud native ecosystem gets more and more mature, I think we do see better, more consistent interfaces so that you can manage your applications more. It's a bit of a vision that you're going to have a single pane of glass that's going to allow you to operate your applications wherever they're running in a consistent manner. I'm not saying that exists today, but I do think that's a path that a lot of people here are moving towards.
So I think the correct answer for this question is yes, lots of speed bumps. Try not to have the Kubernetes team as an island within your IT architecture. You still have the IT silos. Try to integrate with them. Try to think of your overall IT architecture and strategy. And you need to, because I think if you try to run Kubernetes the same way like you did the IT before for the last 30 years, you are very likely to fail at scale. So this is something, do it correct for Kubernetes and try to learn from these aspects you're learning there and you're implementing there, or your overall ITS strategy. Be more agile, more flexible, embrace new technologies. I think this is a really important point. And don't forget the people.
Fantastic. So 2 more questions if we've got time. How can tech leaders keep up with good and emerging practices with Kubernetes? Because it seems like the engineers are in and amongst it, and then we leave it to the engineers to come and bring these aspects to the leaders, which is a hard thing to do, as well as fighting fires and keeping on top of the market trends sort of at the cutting edge. Where should the leaders go to find this information?
Can't remember how long ago it was when that phrase of, the developer is king came up. I do think engineers who are on the cutting face of what they have to do operationally do know things. And, if leaders are not talking to their engineering teams and learning, okay, well, what direction should we be moving in as an organization, I think they would be missing a trick. Maybe I'm saying that because I am an engineer at heart. So I always feel like there's some expertise there that should be bubbled up. Engineers don't always grasp the business needs, but they will understand the technical pros and cons in a way that it's much hard. I would say respect the opinions that are coming from your teams.
Yeah, and so to keep up with the cloud native environment, it's almost impossible, especially if you have other stuff to do. So I'm in this game since forever, and on every KubeCon there are so many new startups and other companies. I'm not able to keep up with the pace. So typically what I do and what I would recommend is really getting a strong integration partner that is doing this job for you and is in one way how you can get to from A to B. Doesn't mean it's the only way, but it's one way, and having great partners, and that's what I'm building, partner ecosystem that have the same DNA, the same understanding of how to do things. That's super helpful. Whatever integrator will suit you best, but they will help you to accelerate your journey. So, for example, these partners are awesome. They have the same mindset, DNA, and the best of breed to get the job done. So that's my way to navigate through the complexity of cloud native. So
I like that, because that leads on from use your team, communicate well with your team, and then pick your professional friends, right? People who are going to help you along that journey. And you know, you find a good partner, your goals are aligned, you succeed, they succeed, and you can use that intelligence. Yeah.
Just don't go to the CNC app landscape. You will get shocked.
Okay, I think we're on the last question. So how do we balance experimentation with implementation, knowing good combinations of solutions? So how, you know, often people go and look at something like today at KubeCon, and they go, well, this and this and this and maybe this. And we all know from our experience in technology, some things on paper work together. Some things need a lot of work to make them work together. How do you suggest people go about putting together a solution that is proven but still able to be a cutting edge solution?
I think I wanted to start by saying, you know, this is by design. One of the things that the CNCS did right from the outset was to say, we are not building an opinionated stack. We are not saying there is one solution that will solve everybody's problems. The landscape is just insanely confusing. So you will need help to pick the right components. But I just wanted to say that composability allows for building the right solution for different applications, for different environments, for different needs. I mean, I think it really comes back to what Julian was saying about, you know, having trusted partners and trusted experts who can help you pick the right components for your needs.
So we're trying to give some guidance by bringing together the people, being a platform, besides being a real platform, being the user group. So connecting people, having them talk to each other, like multiple side events. The event from Portworx yesterday about VMs on Kubernetes, or your platform day yesterday. So that's exactly where the magic happens. Well, you can walk around and have a good conversation, but talking to other users, that's key in my opinion.
That's essentially also what we are striving for, that we bring in customers of the same vertical to align what they maybe benefited from using an enterprise solution rather than just using Trivius or open source, what they suffered from maybe with this, to really, together find some symbiotic points. I don't know.
Oh, that's nice. Nice way to conclude that. Anything from Portworx to Dan?
I could just repeat, find the correct partners, the right partners to help you building your solution, building your vision, your idea. And if you select a solution, or you more deeper investigation towards a solution, talk to other customers of this solution, try to find out if it's really solving the problems, and make a very wise decision on this.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. So that's our talk for today. I'd like to thank you for listening, and we'll see you around the conference. Thanks very much. Thanks to my panel.